why don't we take a look at the basic color code system that's taught to a lot of people on, and I've seen different studies on the color code system, and some people talk about it being a tool for situational awareness, and other people talk about it as a tool for making the decision to do something. But whatever you want to use the color code system for, it gives a very quick and easy, I find, visual that you can apply if you find yourself in a situation.
The three colors go back to the U.S. Army Airborne Forces in the Second World War. We go from white, yellow, orange, red, and black. When can we be in code white? Well, basically, as you've locked the doors to your house and you've turned off the light and you pull up the sheets to go to sleep, because that really is the only time it's acceptable to be completely unaware of your situation because you're asleep.
Realistically, that's where the majority of people operate on a day-to-day basis. Headphones on, phones, heads in their phones, looking on the ground as they walk around, not paying attention to their surroundings.
Not making eye contact with other people on the street.
So we've got condition white, essentially awareness level of a victim, white to yellow. And yellow, you're casually aware.
Yeah, casually aware. Yellow is how we should all live at all times until we have a need to go to.
Then you're into orange.
You're walking down the street. You're in yellow. You're looking at people coming towards you. You're checking vehicles out that are driving down the street. There's a car. You're approaching an intersection. It's making a left turn. And you kind of casually glance to make sure that it's completing its left turn and not understeering the turn and going to mount the curb in front of you and run you down on the sidewalk. It might be just an accident that you could avoid by just being aware. Hey, that car is not going to make that corner. It's coming onto the sidewalk. That little bit of rehearsal, that code yellow, planning, thinking has downloaded, and your subconscious will draw that up and you may be able to react properly. So now we're walking down the street and we're in code yellow. When we start to look ahead, there's somebody approaching directly towards us. He is mumbling to himself. He's looking down. He's got his hands jammed in his pockets. You can see him turning and aggressively looking at people ahead of you. We now move from yellow to orange. There is something that's out of the ordinary. There is something that could potentially become a threat to us, our family, to our well-being. So as a regular person, what are you going to do? Well, how about start moving away from that person's intended path? Maybe it's going to require that you step right off the sidewalk, start walking in the gutter a bit, or maybe it's time to turn and jaywalk and go across the street. You get across the street, the guy passes, he continues on. Now you go back to yellow and continue on the rest of your day. And I think, when you really start to become a practitioner of preparation or a practitioner of true awareness, your life continually hovers between yellow and orange. And it's recognizing once you move into that orange state of mind where your focus is on that perceived potential possible threat, you can really start to calm yourself back down when the threat ceases to exist and you don't get into that paranoid state or where you start to get nervous. And you can't live and you can't enjoy life. That really is part of understanding how to move back and forth.
So if we're to move past orange to red, now the fight's on. The situation changed. It was a bit different.
Right. And so you have now, let's go back to our scenario. We're seeing this guy approaching and you can't move quick enough. The distance is reduced. You're in code orange. You're paying attention. You're focused on him. You're starting to think, I've got to do something. And suddenly a knife comes out of his pocket and he starts to slash. And he's not slashing at the person ahead of you. He's not slashing at the person beside him. He's coming straight for you. And now you realize the threat is real and it's imminent. If you're physically capable and prepared and if trained, maybe you're going to try and physically defend yourself from that knife. But if you're 65 years old and you got two bad knees and, you don't move that well, maybe I need to put something between me and that guy with the knife. Maybe I have to clearly step well out of his way, get a car, get on the other side of a car, do something of that nature.
And then the final part would be condition black.
Condition black. And that's when you become overwhelmed by whatever the situation is. And that's kind of the no return.
Well, the nice thing about condition black that I really like is the fact that if you realize that you are now so overwhelmed by the environment that you've frozen and you're not making proper decisions and you're not downloading these heuristics that you had before, is you can say, I'm in condition black. Let's de-escalate into red and get myself in the fight.
Back in the fight. Yeah.
So
You're back into operation.
right. And I think that's the best thing about condition black is just like, wait a minute, I know I'm here now. Let's get out. And if you start finding yourself going into code black, it might be because you haven't spent time mentally role-playing and developing these situations or these heuristics that you can call upon when you need to.
Yeah.
But the other interesting thing about this is if it can happen to you, it can happen to the bad guys too. And in fact, quite often, it happens to the bad guys before it happens to you because they know what's going to happen. And the adrenaline's pumping in them and their functioning prefrontal cortex brain, which makes all their decisions, isn't making decisions in the proper format. And you can use all of that to your advantage.